but I'm pleased to do this webinar alongside Yngve, who is the CEO of Mørenot Digital. He's been with the company for roughly about 20 years, so it was a very strong background, and I'm so excited to have a discussion here today about how they've been using the spotter for their aquaculture on-site operations. So I will be just providing a quick background on the spotter and some of the stuff that we do here at Sofar. And then Yngve will provide a bit of background on Mørenot and what they're currently working on. And then we'll have a quick discussion at the end to discuss this further. So Sofar are a San Francisco-based company. We're made up of roughly about 90 engineers, oceanographers, coming from various different backgrounds, but we have the combined mission to connect the world's oceans to power a more sustainable future. So we're doing this because when I tell people that I sell wave buoys for a living, they automatically think that I'm selling this big, massive wave buoy on the left. Where in reality, I'm actually providing this really small, tiny spotter buoy on the right-hand side. I do have to point out, as I'm English, I do say buoy, but a lot of you might know them as a buoy. So I do have to make some disclosure there. So we're providing a really small, lightweight, low-cost smart buoy for our oceans. They're really easy to deploy and really easy to use. You don't need an oceanography degree to use one. You take off the lid, you turn it on, and you can throw it in the ocean and start collecting data. So it's as simple as that. We've also collected over 10 million ocean hours of data. We've actually thrown them out of aircraft into hurricanes, and they may be small, but they last and withstand those harsh conditions. The spotter buoy is powered by the sun, so there's less maintenance involved in terms of changing batteries. And you can receive data via iridium or cellular connection, dependent on your location. And we can send this through an API, which I know that Mørenot Group are currently doing, or you can use our online dashboard. So this is just a snapshot of the dashboard. As you can see, this is a snapshot of the data that you'll receive in real time. So it shows you the wave, wind, sea surface temperature, and barometric pressure. So those are the parameters that the spotter buoy provides as standard. And it comes with a GPS location and a timestamp. So this is the dashboard, which is online, which you can use from anywhere in the world to have communication to and from the spotter. So you can change the sort of mode that it's in. You can set up parameters, for example, to get alerts. So you can set a GPS area. You can also set wave height, for example. So if it goes over a specific wave height that you set that's of interest, then you can get an alert and it can tell you. You can also send any updates to it, like firmware updates, so you don't even have to bring it back in to do any form of maintenance internally. So it is really easy and user-friendly piece of software, and it's free with the spotter, so you don't have to pay any form of subscription. So we've used the spotter to provide surface measurements, but we've then created the smart mooring, which provides you with subsurface measurements in real time. So the smart mooring is a load-bearing power and communications cable where we've integrated sensors into the mooring line so that you can send data up to the spotter and then through either your API or your dashboard to receive your data. So currently on the left is an example of a temperature sensor smart mooring, which we've integrated 3 temperature sensors on that mooring. And then towards the right, you can see our pressure sensor smart mooring, which is a bottom mounted pressure sensor for water level. We currently use RBR pressure and temperature sensors, but we also have a Sofar in-house temperature sensor as well. And we're really excited to be expanding our smart mooring and integrating more sensors over the years and really enhancing this piece of technology. And this is just a great slide just to highlight how easy and simple the spotter is to deploy. So when I said we throw it out of aircraft, I wasn't lying. You can see it done here. You can throw it off the back of a boat and have it as a drifter. You can have it connected to a smart mooring, or you can have it connected to a standard mooring as well. So Yngve, I'll just pass it over to you to talk about Mørenot.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, my name is Yngve Askeland. I'm CEO of Mørenot Group, which is a small group in a big company. And we use the spotter buoy to provide critical information for aquaculture operations. And we, as you said, Jasmine, we use the API to visualize and to send the data to our own system, which is called Aquaculture. Just next, please. Yeah. So just a bit background. Mørenot Aquaculture is a global company. We have departments in Canada, in US, in Scotland, Spain, China, throughout the world. Everywhere there is fishing and aquaculture activity. In the aquaculture part, we deliver technical infrastructure like pens and moorings, nets, and so on. And my department, which is called Mørenot Group, we provide, among others, the Aquacom software, which is a software most fish farmers use for maintenance and compliance and operation purpose for fish farms. As you know, the fish farm operations can be dangerous for personnel, and of course it's critical also for fish welfare to have a good environment during operations. So please change, Jasmine. Yeah, so we have been for many years working with our customers to help them to secure both the personnel and the fish during operations, because we see that fish farm sites are moving more and more out in the ocean and being more exposed. And this is critical for any type of operations, both the daily tasks and bigger operations. So we've been testing, we've been doing lots of research in wave determination, in wave calculations, and so on. But we see it's difficult to actually catch the real-time data in wave because it's not so difficult when you're out in the big ocean or inside a fjord, but many of these new sites are in the shift between the fjords and oceans. So we have a lot of different types of waves coming. So then we started testing the spotter approximately 1 year ago to see if this could help us in getting the real-time data more correct. So now we've been using this nice little spotter for more than 1 year, and we have done it together with our clients. They have been part of our project, where we've been listing up all the different kind of tasks they do in a fish farm. Daily tasks, more operational tasks they do maybe only once a year. And they have been reporting to us if the task was, or if the operation was difficult to do, if they had to abort, or if they had to, or if it went okay. And then we go back and see what was the actual conditions that day, both in terms of waves, but also current, sea current, and also wind. And by doing this for more than a year, we have a big data set where we actually can say that the limits for doing this kind of operations is, let's say, wave heights of 1.2 meter HS and TP 12 seconds. If you are above this line, above this threshold, it's dangerous, or it will harm the fish. It will, yeah. So we can put different thresholds now for lots of operations they do out on the fish farms. So we've been doing this logging using Sofar's dashboard and Grafana, but now we are putting the data into our own system, which is Aquacom. And this is the system they use for the daily operations, where they have a calendar and checklist where they check, okay, I've done this, I've been checking this site today, and they click, and now we can soon send alerts, or we can, if they have planned some typical operations in the calendar, we can say that you should postpone, you should do this tomorrow in a few hours, or be careful when you do this, or do this, use a different kind of vessel, or to do these operations now. So this is the plan. So it is been good to work with Sofar personnel, and they've been supporting us good all this way. And we started with the satellite communications. Now we're into the cell. So we think it's been working fine. We had, this is far north, so we had not an issue, I would say, but we had to, in the darkest time of winter, we need to recharge the buoy maybe once or twice, but that's all. So it's been it's a good, stable product, and affordable. Of course, it's also important, and gives us good, stable data. So this is the dashboard in Aquacom. It's just a template where you can put all your kinds of sensors and data into it. We call it a monitor dashboard, and we can take all kinds of API into this dashboard and use all the data throughout the system, like in the calendar, in the work orders, in every part, and also of course for statistic and for evaluation purpose. We think that maybe in future they can go and use the data collected by the spotter and other sensors to map the performance of the fish, maybe, and how the economic results, how the technical standards are. So it's a lot of things we can do in the future with this data. So yeah, it's been exciting, and our customers are also excited. So we think this will be a good added value to the Aquacom system. And I can also say that the Aquacom system is now in use for more than 700 fish farm sites throughout the world. So it's a huge potential if most of the fish farmers see this as a valuable tool. And we believe it's the future. Yeah. Okay, Jasmine, I think that's my speech. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Yngve. That was very insightful, and hopefully there's more to come with Aquacom. I would also like to note that we do have some new updates this week to try and help with high latitude deployments. So we'll talk about that, and hopefully we can get that ready for you as well. So Yngve, when we're talking about fish farms and deploying a spotter, where specifically on the fish farms are you deploying the spotters?
We are deploying the spotters in the we're close to the fish farm, maybe 50 meters, maybe close to the farm. But of course, in the area where we see that the wave exposure will be highest. So you have some areas in the fish farm which is lower exposed or less exposed, of course. So the dream would be to have maybe 2 or 3 spotters on the farm, so you can actually see that, okay, I should not go to this end, but I should go to the other end of the farm today to do my tasks. So, but I forgot to say one important thing is that more and more the fish farms are run by personnel on land. They're not. So this is also a way to see that can I actually go out to the farm today, or should I stay on land and just wait till it calms down and then go out? So this is also, yeah. But so we should have 2 or 3 spotters on each farm, but we'll start with 1. Yeah.
Yeah, we can work on that.
Yeah, I know.
So how often are your spotters sending data? So what frequency have you set them to?
We set them to half hour. We used to have 1 hour, but we switched to half hour because we see it's important because it shifts so fast. So I think that's at least the standard we've been using now. Yeah.
So what are some of the most important parameters from the spotter itself?
It's the significant wave, of course, and time period, the TP. It's the 2 most critical for us. We also measure the wind and temperature, but the surface wind is not so relevant. It can be good to just to see the difference between the other wind sensors, which is on a higher level, but we have it's the TP and the HS, which is most important.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, I think we're both part of the solution of trying to digitalize aquaculture. So where do you see this going in the future? I know you mentioned it briefly at the end of your presentation, but in terms of obviously potentially working with Sofar, obviously some of the new sensors, but then also with other integrations into Aquacom as well.
Yeah, I see that more and more the fish farms are run by people on land, right? They're not out all day on the site and watching the fish. So they're sitting in big control rooms, and they have maybe a technical teams going around from farm to farm. So this kind of equipment can help to plan the logistic, of course, where to go and where to do the operation. They can be used for maybe a boat for if you have if you see the weather is getting worse or the waves are getting worse, you can stop feeding maybe and avoid feed spill. So I think the day-to-day running of farms will be more based on sensors and data from this kind of equipment. But of course, as I said, to store the data and to be able to use the data for performance checks or for mapping and I think that's also the next. Yeah.
So what was being done before you bought a spotter? What was happening before then? The reason why as well?
Yeah, then it's very dependent on the people on the farm, right? So some can be very tough, and this is no problem, and some are more careful. So it's then it's on an individual level what can be done. But now, when you have the data and you can put the limits and the thresholds, it's more, it's not up to each individual what to do this day and to say yes or no. This is more, then it will be more the same throughout the company. So, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. I think we're going to go to the questions from the audience and just answer a few of those quickly before you leave. So I'll read some of these out and then we'll answer them all for you. If anyone's got any questions, please do put them into the Q&A box at the bottom now, and we can answer those for you. If we don't get around to answering your question and you want to discuss more, then me and Yngve are more than happy to discuss further offline as well. So Felipe asked what sensors may be integrated into the smart mooring. So this is something that we're working on. We're going to do some releases hopefully soon. There was a webinar just a couple of weeks ago that my colleague Nevin was talking about, and we're looking to hopefully integrate a current meter potentially, and then we don't have any more news about that, but I can't tell you any more now, but we'll do some releases and I'll make sure that you guys get further information when it comes out. Alex asked, are there water depth, max current speed, wave height limits for the smart mooring? For the smart mooring, we're currently limited to 50-meter depths. We've seen most subsurface measurements required in the coastal environment. There will be some future developments there, but in terms of currents and wave heights, we can configure the mooring to work with the currents and the wave height that you're working in. Please do get in contact if you'd like to discuss a specific application further, and then we can discuss what mooring would be most suitable. Someone else asked, were the spotters in your area moored or tied onto the cages, Yngve?
They are moored. Because if you tie them to the cages, they will, in certain wind directions, you would, if you tie between two cages, they will be too tight, right? And if you moor it only to one cage, it will possible to burst into the cage. So it's moored in by your how you put it out. It's just a concrete block and ropes, and also one more small buoy to keep it possible to I don't know what you call it, but swing around its own axis. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So Adam said that they're currently using Aquaculture, which is great. And he said, is there an easy data connection framework with the API that can be provided to help connect the spotter wave data into Aquaculture?
Yes, just talk to Ole, our support lead, so we can fix this, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. To send an email to the support Aquaculture or talk directly to Ole.
Yeah, Ole is the feet of all knowledge with Aquaculture. Lars asked if we have made any wave data comparisons with the spotter against other sort of instrumentation. We do have an independent paper that compares the data well and the spotter, and proving that the wave measurements are as good as other wave buoys out there as well. So I can share that with you afterwards if you're interested. Carlos asked if we've considered current meter for the spotter. Yes, we have. So that's something that I'm excited to share with you later on. So Antonio asked, you mentioned the spotter helped define thresholds for operations. Can you elaborate a bit on or other meaningful results that you've received from the spotter?
Yeah, I think we have just finishing the previous or the pre-report now for one client, and we see it's good to see that the level between where they had to abort the operation and where it's critical or where it's difficult to perform is it's a clear difference. So that makes us it's more easy to make the thresholds clear, to cut the limit, because we see that it's not only 0.2, it's like it's a bigger difference. So it's easy for us to say that no, you should not perform this kind of operations today or in this.
Brilliant. So someone asked, are the wind sensors separate or installed as part of the spotter? So the spotter actually uses a wind algorithm based off of wave spectra. I can share more information on that with you separately if you'd like. How often do spotters need to be serviced? It depends on your location. The main thing for servicing is just making sure that there isn't any biofouling. So that's obviously dependent on what sort of latitudes that you're in and what you're working with. So it's pretty much up to you. I think mainly people that are working in the marine industry understand their environment better than obviously us trying to tell you. But yeah, regular maintenance to make sure that there isn't any biofouling. Antonio asked what the typical dimensions of the aquaculture fields that you're working on, and how many cages per unit area, and how many spotters.
In Norway, the normal size of a farm is with 160 meter cages or 50 meter in diameter, and maybe 8 to 10 cages. So it can be actually 700-800 meters long farm, but usually they are pointed in a direction which is out in the ocean, but they have shallow water inside. So we have only used one spotter so far today, but it would be a benefit to use 2 or 3, so we could see the difference in the different side of the site. But we placed the spotter in the worst area now, and of course, if we had more, we could be even more precise in how to do or if you can perform operations in some parts of the farm and not other ones.
Yeah, so through Aquacom, you can add multiple spotters. We can add multiple spotters, yeah. So it's that's not a problem. But today we have only one in this trials we've been doing now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I think we'll end there. We've got so many questions. I think we've got over 20 here. So hopefully we'll be able to get back to you offline with those. And those of you that have more questions, want to discuss more about Aquacom with Yngve, or want to discuss more about the spotter with myself, I will be sending out an email afterwards, and then hopefully we can all be in touch. Thank you very much, Yngve, for joining me today. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you everyone that has joined the webinar. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully see you all again soon. Sofar will be attending Ocean Business this year in Southampton. So hopefully see quite a few of you there. We're at stand V73. So it will be great to catch up with everyone soon.